Good morning and welcome to Reuzel Live. Today is January 13th. We have a very special presentation. A first timer, but not a first time teaching for Reuzel. We have a very special Scumbassador out of Denver, Colorado. Emmy Shirk, what's going on, Emmy?
Woo! Hi, Nicholas. How are ya?
Oh, loving life. Ready to help you spread the greasy gospel. How are things with you?
Love it. Doing fabulous. Awesome. Ready to start out the new year with an awesome presentation. I got a fabulous model with the most insanely beautiful hair. So I'm really excited to get started and show you all some how to praise the Lord in 2025.
Awesome. Take it away.
Awesome. As Nicholas said, I'm Emmy. Thank you so much for joining us today. Happy New Year. Happy 2025. I had a rad New Year. I did not do anything this New Year's Eve. I sat on the couch and watched movies, and it was fabulous, just the way I wanted to bring in the new year. I'm going to go ahead and get started wetting my model down. This is Josh. Everybody in the comments give Josh a wave. Thank you for being here, my friend. Of course. Josh actually has some experience with Reuzel. He used to get cut by Patrick Lewis, if any of you know who that fabulous gentleman is. So very grateful to have him here with us today. I wanted to show you guys a Vanguard haircut today for a few reasons. The Vanguard is our longest haircut in the classic cutting collection. It's mostly scissor over comb, lots of shear work. I'm going to be doing some tapering with my clippers at the end after we're dried, clean up his neckline and around the ears. But I really wanted to focus on movement and flow. Today, I thought bringing in the new year, it's a good way to get started. I'd like to bring 2025 in, focusing on movement, flow, getting things going. Following a system really helps me in every single aspect of life, but especially when we're talking about the Reuzel cutting method, it's so helpful to have a guideline to follow. One of my favorite things to say is learn the rules so that you can break them, right? And this is an incredible haircut to do that with. So I'm wetting down the hair. I do have some Reuzel hair tonic, our blue tonic, in my water. First of all, it smells delicious, gets the conversation started immediately with your client in the chair on product and how they can utilize it at home. Two, I'm going to be using it as kind of a cutting lotion. It helps me control the hair better as I'm working through it. It helps hold it better and maintain moisture as I'm cutting it. We want to be sure throughout this whole haircut that we're maintaining the same level of moisture throughout the haircut, especially when your client has a bit of a wave pattern or more curl. We want to make sure that when we're cutting, everything is the same consistency, the same wetness, and that way we know that we're cutting every single little piece of hair the same direction. So as I'm pushing and pulling and prodding on Josh here, I'm looking for growth patterns. David, if we can make sure people see his beautiful whirl down here. So I'm looking for how it naturally flows, the volume, where his hair wants to go, the direction it's flowing, and of course on top. I do know that Josh likes to wear some of his curls in the front, falling down. So I'm going to keep that in mind later when we cut the top, leaving a little bit more length here. And I also know that because we have lots of curl pattern, and even when it's soaking wet, we still see all of these gorgeous curls, that with curly hair, if I take half an inch when it dries, it's going to look like a full inch. So I'm going to be mindful of that. Starting with wet allows me to see also what product will do, and it gets me started on thinking what sort of products are going to work best for this client and how they can utilize them easily at home. I'm all about easy maintenance, and using the Reuzel routine and utilizing Reuzel products at home is very simple for clients when explained in the way I'm going to be utilizing them today. So we're soaking wet. Let's just jump right into it. New year, new cut, right, buddy? Here we go. I'm using a lightly colored comb. I like colors. I like fun. So My combs are orange. Josh has darker hair, so this will allow me to see my guideline as I'm working through the hair and see where his hair is at a little bit better than if I were to use a black or darker comb color. I'm going to begin the haircut by creating our primary parting. The primary parting is so important when we're talking about classic cuts in the Reuzel cutting method. It's going to be the place that we return to every single time. This is what makes it so special to me to follow a guideline and follow a system, because I can't get lost. I like to talk. I like to step away from my client and use my hands a lot. And so when I come back to the haircut, it's important to me that I know exactly where I left off and where to continue the cut. So we're going to begin at his recession and bring that line down all the way across the widest part of the head, meeting to the middle back, right in the center. I'm going to focus a lot today also on symmetry. Symmetry is so important, especially with a classic cut like the Vanguard. There's no part, there's no, flipping the hair to one side to style. I know Josh particularly likes to wear his hair as natural as possible. So I want to make sure that both sides are completely even. And starting with this primary parting, it makes it so easy, again, just to make sure that I'm not getting lost as I'm cutting and that I'm staying completely symmetrical based on the shape of my client's head. A super cool trick, we're simply making a straight line on a curved surface. So I like to take my comb, place it on the part, and bring it down the side of the head just to make sure that my line is completely straight. If we need to adjust, go ahead and adjust. Now I'm going to check that when I meet in the back, can you go ahead and lean forward just a little bit? That my part's being brought basically right to the middle of his head. So when I join the other side, I know exactly where I'm going. Now we'll come around to the other side. Comb all the hair back so I can more easily part. I am right-handed. We always suggest to start with your dominant side and then move to your non-dominant side. So if you are left-handed, just go ahead and switch the directions when you practice this in your shop. My left side, I tend to be a little bit more on, so I'm going to really focus. I like to use my other hand as a balance and kind of a weight to make sure that I'm staying in a straight line as much as possible. So beginning at the recession, we're going to go ahead and bring this part back as straight as possible. Again, I will probably need to adjust this side, and that is totally okay. Throughout the haircut, if you notice that some hairs are falling, go ahead and utilize your clips. If you like to use those hair Velcros, I like to utilize those sometimes as well. We have clients' hair that might be a little bit more tricky to maintain. So again, I'm always double checking my work, making sure that I'm going to meet exactly in the spot I intend to. Right at the back of the head. Again, checking my symmetry here. I'm going to bring this just past the center line. And then go ahead on my right side. And voila. Create that parting. Now, since we did our evaluation on Josh with his wet hair, I know that his crown area can get a little excited, little voluminous, if you will. So I'm going to go ahead and clip this back part. Excuse me, my dear. Thank you. So that it's out of my way and I'm not fighting with it later. Boom. So we've created our primary parting. Now, if you would look straight, the fun begins. I'm going to grab my shears. Again, this haircut is 98% shear over comb. And then we'll do some detailing with the clippers at the end. I'm going to begin right above the ear at the widest part of the head. This ensures a few things. One, again, that I have a starting point, that I have a baseline to come back to. As we create the baseline, which will follow our primary parting completely around the head, again, I'm starting on the right side, which is my dominant side. I'll move down center and then repeat on the left side. Another reason why I love following these haircutting steps is it's just repeat, 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 repeat. You do something 10 times, then do it 100 more times. Then do it 10 times again, and eventually it will just become muscle memory. So I'm combing all the hair up straight to the baseline. If you notice, I'm also standing directly behind or in front of my section, square to my chest. If I were to bring my hands out, I am square to my chest. I am always double checking to make sure that my shoulders are down, that I'm not putting any extra stress on my body as best as I can during a long shift. So combing all the hair up. Now I know at the end of this haircut, we're going to take this above the ear. So this length that we determine here is possibly the most important cut of this entire haircut because, one, it determines how short I can go around the ear and around the neckline, and it also determines how long and what the length is going to be on the top. So today, I don't want to take him too short because, again, this is all scissor work, and it's been about 2 months since I've seen Josh, so I know that we're going to take off about 1 inch. As I pull this out using my tighter tension side of my comb, I'm also making sure that the hair is being pulled 90 degrees from the head. If you imagine a marble laying on top, I'm looking for that marble to just sit gently and quietly right on top. If the marble starts to fall down, we're getting a little wonky. So straight out from the head, 90 degrees, square to my chest, square to my section. I'm going to make my first cut. And then we're going to move forward, keeping our fingers square. This is very important. If my fingers were to round, we're now creating a round shape in the haircut. I want to be sure that this whole haircut is very square. So in order to do that, I'm keeping my fingers straight forward, 90 degrees from the head, resting my marble. Beautiful. Now, as I work around the part, again, combing all the hair up, I'm going to two-step around the head. I'm not going to turn the chair every single time I need to make a new section. So as I grab my new section, I'm going to step in front of the camera, grab my next section, see my guide, and follow this around the whole side of the head. As we come around to the curvy part of our straight line, I'm still keeping all of those things in mind. I'm 90 degrees to the section. I'm following the primary parting. I'm not changing the elevation or the angle of my fingers. I'm always following that primary parting. I see my guide, make my snips, two-step, square to my chest, shoulders down, boom. Coming to the back center of the head. Again, I know I'm symmetrical because I created a very symmetrical primary parting. So I'm not worried about taking this too far to one side and leaving him with a wonky cut. I'm going to just go past my center parting there, or my center point. And now we have created the baseline on the right side. So moving to my non-dominant side, we're going to repeat those steps. I'm going to re-wet his hair a little bit. Our nice tonic water. A client the other day thought it was Windex. It's not Windex, guys. It's hair tonic. We had a good laugh, but I said, where do you find Windex that smells like that? This smells a lot better, I think. So combing all the hair up. Now I know about how much I took off the other side. Again, we all have a dominant side. We all have a side that we need to focus a little bit harder on. So as I come to the front, keeping my fingers square, resting my marble, see my guide, snip, snip, we have a bit of a cheat code. Most combs have notches. What side am I on? Or little measurements. This comb is by the inch, and I see my numbers. So I'm going to double check my work. I'm going to make sure that, again, I'm symmetrical on both sides. You can pull them straight out. Utilize the mirror. The mirror is there for you, not for the client. If you really want to double check, go ahead and measure. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. I also find that when you double check your work and you're being precise, they really appreciate that. They see that you're taking that extra time, you're taking that extra effort to make sure that they leave with the best possible haircut for them and for their individualized head shape. So again, I'm working my way around the primary parting, utilizing my guides, combing all the hair straight up. Now, the first time I heard this actually was from you, Nicholas, I believe at our Denver Academy. Nicholas said, we don't comb hair, or we don't cut hair, we comb hair. And it's so true.
As much as I want to take credit for that, that was George.
That was George. I think, well, you know, we repeat, right? Hi, George, if you're watching. So again, following our primary parting all the way down to center. Now, this is the cool part, okay? Because we went slightly past the center point, I now have two guides. So again, I'm making sure that I am completely symmetrical. See my guide there, see my guide there. Snip, snip. And now we've created our baseline. Again, I like to double check. So I'm going to stand behind my client and look in the mirror, look above my client, pull the baseline out, and just quickly make sure that everything seems to line up, everything's looking symmetrical, everything's looking good, ready to rock and roll. Now keep in mind throughout this, as I'm going around, I do want to see a slight point in the back. During our next step, it's going to become evident that that is what I'm looking for. I'm going to re-wet. Now our next few steps, this is where you can kind of be creative with length, with angles. We are focusing on a very, very classic cut today. We want to see those square shapes. We want to see very consistent lengths throughout the haircut. So this is one of my favorite tricks for maintaining lengths. Josh, as we know, because we did our evaluation of the hair wet, has lots of volume in his natural hair. So if he's going to be swooping this back, I want to see a little extra length right in the front so that it actually lays flat. I don't want him to have to go home and have little tiny short hairs here that he has to deal with. So keeping that in mind, again, I'm starting at the widest part of the head, creating a section right above the ear, combing all the rest out of my way as best as I can. Still following that 90-degree angle rule. I always keep in mind when I'm doing these sections, I want to be able to see my baseline straight out from the head, standing square to my section, square to my chest. And again, I double check myself. Like literally, sometimes in the middle of a haircut, I will literally just go whoop and make sure that I'm not wrecking my shoulders as I'm doing this. So again, I know that we want to end up above the ear. So as I create this shape on the side of the head, I'm going to grab the section and angle my fingers down. My knuckles are touching his ear. This is mostly bulk removal because we're creating a rough draft here. And then we're going to go back after we blow dry and taper it in a little bit more detailed. So the less hair I have here to work with, the easier my job's going to be later, right? So now I'm moving forward. Now, instead of pulling this straight out at 90 degrees, I'm going to comb it back to my previously cut section. This creates length. It's not about the hair that we take off. It's about the hair that we leave behind. So again, grabbing the section, still 90 degrees, but at my previously cut. See my guide. Knuckles touching the ear. Snip, snip. Now, same thing. One more section here. So I have our previously cut. I'm going to pull all his front hairs around the hairline. Back to that previously cut section. Grab it, 90 degrees. My marble's still resting on top. I see my guide. Cut it up. Now, as we can see, even just in that section, how beautifully that flows back. And I'm not seeing any wonky stuff here that he's going to have to fight with when he goes home tonight. So, moving on the rest of the head, we're still using our baseline and our preliminary parting as our guide here. This is the cool part to me, okay? How you create movement, flow, wave within the haircut. We're going to use diagonal sections. So I'm going to make sure that I have a guideline for my previously cut, and he needs a little more moisture. Always okay to resaturate the hair. They're wearing a cape. You give them a bath, just charge them extra. I'm just kidding. I'm going to make sure I have that previously cut guide there, creating a diagonal section going down to zone 1, which is our nape here. Now, some people feel more comfortable doing this through zone 2 first, which is from the ear to our preliminary parting, and going boop, 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 and then going back and doing the nape. Totally okay. I'm going to just do it all in one swoop again, just because I know that I'm going to go back later and detail that neckline anyway. So I'm going to, now that we're working a little lower, I'm going to raise him up a bit. Again, always checking my body position, always making sure that I'm doing everything I can to continue doing this for as long as I can. And I'm pulling everything out at a 90 degree. Now, remember our angle of our fingers when my fingers were touching his ear? Now we're working kind of in open space almost. So you have to keep in mind that angle that your fingers were at. So again, we can maintain symmetry throughout the haircut. I see my guide, snipping. Again, I'm just going straight down into the nape because I know I'm going to go back in that later and make it extra pretty. Next section, diagonal. Combing it all out at a 90 degree. Making sure I'm square to my section, square to my chest. There's my marble resting. Angling my fingers down. There's my guide. And just continuing along the head. As I go along and complete this side, my right side of the head, I would like to hear from you guys. Did anybody do something super awesome for New Year's Eve? Sound off in the comments. Continuing along. Marble, straight out. Angling my fingers down. Again, just going straight down into zone 1, into our nape. And just debulking a little bit so that we have less work to do later. And now we're coming to our center. Almost completed on the right side. Continuing down. And I'm going to just go past just again, because when I go back and do my left side, I'm going to have 2 guides there. And that gives me a good indication if I need to go back and check anything. Get out of there. Get out of there. That gives me the opportunity to do so. And I'll just snip that little bolt piece right out of there. Now, I tend to like to go back through with my clipper overcomb to cross-check everything. But you can certainly do that with your scissors overcomb as well. Again, I know that I'm going to go back through with the clippers, so I might do a little bit of that to demonstrate for you later. But we all know when you cross-check, you check the opposite direction that you cut. So we went diagonal this way. When you cross-check this, you'll go diagonal this way. And in the front, where we used vertical sections, you'll cross-check that by going horizontal. All right, so let's move on along. Movement in the haircut, movement in the demonstration. Here we go. Again, widest part of the head, widest part above the ear. This is where we will begin on both sides. I know I'm not going to get lost because I created that guideline, that baseline here. Pulling straight out, square to my chest, square to my section. There's my marble. And hold on to my guide and angle my fingers down where my knuckles are touching his ear. Try not to elbow the camera. Sorry, David. And again, next subsection here. Pulling it back to my previous cut. Just so we can make sure we maintain a little bit of length. Again, later when we go through and we detail and we do a little bit of tapering, if I need to, then I can remove some length from this front part. But for now, I'd like to leave as much as possible so that 1, I know I'm maintaining length, and 2, I'm maintaining that square shape. So again, I'll just check, make sure everything's flowing, make sure everything looks good so far. Happy with that. I'm going to resaturate. Whoa. Doesn't Josh have just the most beautiful hair? Look at this. Do you want to trade? You can have mine. I'll have yours.
Go for a bit.
The color's fun, you know? Yeah. All right, so repeat, 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 repeat. We have our established guide at the top of the widest part of the head, going to go in diagonal sections down. This is where body mechanics really comes into play on this side, because if I were to cut how is that nice? How is that comfortable? I don't want to do that. So we're going to flip our fingers going down, grabbing the section. Now my guideline is near my cushion here, and the end is going to come out right at my fingers. This is going to save your wrists. It's going to save your shoulders.
Hey, Emmy.
Hey.
Hey, just want to let you know we have viewers from mostly North America today. U.S., Canada, Guatemala. Viewers from all over.
Woo. All right. Thank you guys for joining us. First one of 2025. I appreciate you being here. Thank you for the support. Again, keep in mind here on this side that, one side might be shorter than the other. It's okay. We're going to go back and we're going to detail and we're going to cross-check with our scissors. I'm continuing this diagonal sectioning, trying to maintain the same angle that I did on that side. As best I can, taking it down through zone 1, down to the nape, and continuing along. All right, now we're coming to the back center again. So I'm going to start looking for that second guide. There's a little bit. There she is. So nice to know that you have a system to follow so that we can never get lost. One guide, two guide. Woo! I do know that the first time I heard that was from George, that two guides are better than one. All right. So now we've completed our rough draft around zone 1 and zone 2. Now I'm going to move right up to the top. And then after we blow dry, I'm going to go back in detail and do the tapering and all of that fun stuff. Let's get all of the bulk work out of the way here so that we can just enjoy, be creative, have fun with it, do a little styling. So resaturating. We create the preliminary partings on the top. Again, everything is center. I also know that I have this nice little point back here that I created to follow. Use my mirror. I usually go by the nose, or if they have a nice little widow's peak that's perfectly center, you can utilize that as well. Again, I'm using my non-dominant hand as a bit of a weight, and I'm going to create a parting right down the center. Always double checking, making sure we're staying symmetrical, we're staying clean. Again, it just makes less work for us later. I'm going to go all the way down to where our primary parting ended there. All right, now, again, always utilizing the widest parts of the head, which are going to be right above the ear, and our apex on top. I'm going to create my next part using that apex. So, David, I'm going to swoop around on this side. I know I eventually want to be right above the ear, so I keep that in mind. You can always put your finger down here as a stationary tool to work with so that you're never missing the part there. And then, right where we created our original primary parting, again, right at the recession of the head, I'm going to use my finger, place it there, go straight from the apex on top, right in that corner there. I like to kind of think of like a circus tent or like a fun, summer umbrella. We're kind of creating cute little pie sections here. So this is our corner, crown, and front section we have now. And let's repeat on the other side. So I already have this guide to follow. Whoop. there it is. Whoop, there it is. Right above the ear. Straight down. Voila. And then using my finger as a guide right at the corner of the recession, starting at the apex, bring that straight down. Just twist them out of the way. If your client's hair is being a little difficult, don't be afraid to use a clip. That's okay. Now, eventually these are going to be joined, but I don't want to have that hair falling in his eyeballs for the next 3 minutes. So I'm going to leave them separated for now and combine them when we get there. So let's start on the crown section. So we remember our primary parting that we created. That's where I'm going to base this off of. I'm going to create 2 subsections going probably about 1 inch above, 1.5 inches maybe, above my primary parting there. Pull this out of the way. Again, I know I'm creating that corner there. The reason we cut the crown, the corners, and the front the way that we're doing now is 1, again, to maintain length so that we know we're going to have enough to work with as the hair dries. But 2, it helps maintain that square shape. Classic cutting is all about square shapes, and I want to make sure to maintain that throughout the whole haircut. So I see his natural growth patterns back here. I'm not going to be pulling this down too tight. I'm not trying to force the hair in a direction it doesn't want to go. I'm just very loosely, you can see I'm now using my wide teeth, very loosely bring up to my primary. I see my guide down there. That's our baseline that we created. I'm just letting the hair fall where it naturally wants to go and cutting to my guide. Again, always keeping in mind the curl pattern of your client. I know that Josh has some gorgeous, luscious curly locks. So if I pull the hair too tight, it will simply bounce back out of control. We don't want to do that. Continuing along, pulling the baseline up. There's a guide. There's my guide underneath. Voila, nice and loose. And I always check, just give it a little flip back, make sure everything looks like it's shaping up correctly. We don't see anything crazy hanging out. Now our top section, if everything doesn't reach, that's totally okay. This is the way that I cut Josh's hair behind the chair normally. So you'll see soon when we cut our top section, some of that length might be taken away once we do the mohawk. So I'm just cutting what's left. And then we'll move on to our corner here. Again, I know that I like to leave a little bit more weight, a little bit more bulk right on top. So I'm just going to leave this as 1 section. You totally can create subsections throughout here if it makes it easier for you to see. I want to see as much weight and as much length left on top as possible. So again, combing all this down in a very natural pattern, finding my original baseline. There's my guide underneath there. Fingers straight out square. Snipping along. All right. It's all looking good. You also do want to see, if you comb the hair all the way down, you do want to see a bit of a weight line here. That also is an indication that you're following your guides correctly. So look for that as well. I'm going to move on to the left side and then do the front all together as 1 piece. So following our primary parting, just creating a here. Combing this down naturally. This is also really fun for patterns, all texture patterns, because everybody's got some fun cowlicks back here, some fun whirls back here. So it gives you good training and experience to follow the natural flow of the hair when you're going and kind of see what, other people's genetics are doing to them. I find it fascinating. So lightly pulling it down. I see my guide under there. Not too much work to do here. Little corner there. Low and back. Now again, just pay attention to the way the hair lays. This naturally wants to go more curvy-worvy there. So I'm going to keep that in mind and not fight it. People ask me all the time, if you just shave my cowlick off, like, can we just shave it short and it won't grow back, right? No, it will grow back. It will grow back. You were born with it. It's never leaving. The trick is to work with it, to not fight it. It can be your friend, but when we work with it, not against it, it behaves so much better. It's so much happier. So if you have somebody with a bit more of a complicated growth pattern back there, try it out. Try it out for me. Just try working with it, not fighting it, letting it do what it wants to do. So corner section here, natural flow of the hair. I see my guide. Fingers, again, straight out, square. And kind of just double checking, like combing it all back, making sure everything's flowing. All right, so now go back to my dominant side. Remember, we're always working dominant to non-dominant. Again, keeping track of where you are and what you're doing, it just makes your day go so much smoother and will create more consistent haircuts. So I've joined this front section together as one. I'm going to just do diagonal partings with the hairline as I go along. Just kind of twisting this out of the way. Again, I know on top for Mr. Josh here, I do want to keep it as natural and as full as possible. So I pull all of this over to the side. You see those? Oh, look at your little curl. It's so cute. I see my guide here from our corner section, using my wide tooth section of the comb. I'm going to angle this down a little bit. Again, I do know that he likes to wear that front part a little bit more forward and funky sometimes. So I'm just very, very gently holding the hair. I'm not giving it much tension at all. Angle down, and I'm going to pull all of this over until there's nothing left that joins my comb. Just a little baby piece there. And we'll continue until we run out of hair. And then we'll just repeat on the other side. There's my guide. Again, not too much work to do here. Just cleaning it up. Yeah, look at that. There's a little corner there. And I'm sure there won't be anything for us to do on this last section. Let's check. Little corner. Voila. And we'll repeat on the other side.
Hey, Emmy.
Hey.
I asked our viewers what Reuzel products they would like to see you use for this Vanguard. And they're just so mesmerized by your work that they didn't give me a response. So feel free to use whatever you want.
Sounds like a deal. Sounds like a deal. I love it. Well, we already have some hair tonic in there to assist us with the cut. I'm going to throw in some Reuzel grooming tonic right before I blow dry. I think, if I have free reign, Josh here told me that he has some big meetings the rest of the day and has to also be on camera. So I think let's make his life as easy and as seamless as possible. And let's throw some grooming cream in there. Nice and light, matte finish, light hold. Easily maneuverable. Nothing crazy. All right. Reuzel Grooming Tonic. This is our liquid gold. It's going to protect Josh's hair from the heat. It's also going to add a little bit of hydration and moisture. Woo! Keep those curls happy. You know you used too much if when you dispense it on your palms and you go like this, it drips off. Then you used too much. All right. I'm going to grab my vent brush and we're going to begin blow drying. Blow drying is one of my favorite things because I feel like people are kind of afraid of it, that clients are kind of afraid of it, like it's a lot of work. It's so simple. Real simple rule. The flow of the air goes with the flow of the hair, okay? We're not doing this ever. The hair dryer follows the brush. I also like to keep my hand up towards the top of my brush so that I feel the heat. If it's burning my hand, it's burning the client. I'm always starting in the crown. Around the crown area, we want to keep it as flat to the head as possible. Again, I'm keeping in mind those classic shapes. Once we cross the apex, the highest point of the head, and go forward, then we can start messing with some more volume. A little bit of pompadour action if you would like. So I'm following the flow. This is it's gonna make the hair drying process go a lot quicker for your client at home. And for us, obviously. That's I'm gonna lower you down just a little bit. Again, always checking your shoulders, check in with your body, make sure you're not doing anything crazy. Following the flow. No matter where my brush goes, the blow dryer follows. This is gonna prevent breakage, damage, frizz. Oh, just look how beautiful your hair is. It's so awesome. I'm losing my headphone here. There we go. All right, now as we move to the front, I'm going to use my brush, grab it at the root, and add a little bit of volume here. If you're really, really going for it, you can have the client tilt their head forward and use gravity, but he already has enough natural volume, so we're just going to try and make it look slick and natural and beautiful for his meetings later. Always following the flow. Again, I am starting on my dominant side, so you see me working on my right side, and then I'll move over to the left side once the top of the head is dry. Very important to remind your clients when you're teaching them how to blow dry, to always start at the highest part of the head, start near the root. Gravity is going to pull that water down. So if I dried this the part first, water would still be dripping down on top of it, creating more work for them and for us. Now, drying everything from our primary parting down takes no time at all. Much more simple because we don't have any water flowing down. Use this as an opportunity as well to kind of mess with your ambidextrousness. Switch hands. Again, keeping in mind we want our shoulders to be as relaxed and square as possible. Josh, just yell at me if it gets too hot, okay? I do have it on a low heat setting. The Dyson blow dryer is super hot. It's just very, very hot blow dryer. So I always keep it on the low setting, just for my own personal use here in a high flow. Following the flow. The flow of the air goes with the flow of the hair. Easy. Getting some lift, getting some volume at the front. I love this process too because it allows me to see that square shape that we've maintained throughout the haircut by brushing it all back and blow drying it all back. You can really see kind of how our hard work has paid off here. I would also suggest as you're blow drying, show your client how they can do it with their hands. You can create all of this by using your fingers. Lift up at the root. Show them that they can do that with their hands. It'll be much less intimidating for them when they go home and try to repeat this in their own mirror. Oh my goodness. Woo! Look at you, buddy. Hello. All right. Now, my favorite part, the detailing. I'm going to grab my blending, texturizing, thinning shears, whatever you would like to call it. I use these primarily as a blending tool. I'm going to comb all of this hair down just so I can see kind of where that weight line lays. As we can see, it's a little bit heavier around there. Something that I love to keep in mind is whatever direction you use your thinning shears. I'm going to step around this side. Thank you. That's the direction the hair is going to fall. So if I pull this up, I notice we're a little bit heavy there. I'm going to peel kind of my shears outwards this way and just soften that blend there. And we're going to do this across the entire head. Nice and easy. And some pie sectioning here on top. As we go along, softening that line, taking some of that bulk out here. Now, Josh has enough hair on his head for about 18 people. So, you know, don't rush yourself, but we're going to move on right along here. Because, man, I could detail this head of hair forever. It's so beautiful. And we can see kind of how that lays a lot nicer throughout there now. I also like this technique because for clients who wear their hair differently day to day, might have a more relaxed style, a more work meeting style, a date night style. It adds a little bit of grip to the ends of each hair strand so that when they go home and style it and they do comb it back a little bit more fancy, it stays a lot better for them. They don't have to be fighting with it later. I'm kind of peeling outwards, moving my fingers. Now this front part I'm going to join back here. Again, just focusing on the last third of the hair shaft here. And I'm just looking for anything really heavy going into this. Just looking for any extra thick spots that might need a little bit more attention. That's flowing nicely. Now, as we come to the last few steps of Josh's transformation haircut here today, that's flowing. That looks good. I'm going to grab my shears one more time before I detail around the edges quickly. I'm going to create a mohawk section on the top and just see if there's anything left for me to take off. This is where we're going to create our ramp shape, which gives us that pompadour-esque shape, if you will. Our guide is here at the back of the head. And the longest piece is going to be at the front. So you can see if we connected those, it'd be a ramp like that. So let's see. The natural way a head is shaped, we might see a little bit of a bend there on the top. So I'm going to follow that line and just snip off anything that's left here. Just a little. Perfect. Beautiful. All right, we are getting there. We're getting to the end. Now, the detailing. I'm going to go around quickly. Again, this is just debulking and detailing. Everybody has their own ways that they like to do this. I like to kind of go along first and just remove any bulk around the ears and then do some nice clipper overcomb work. I also do utilize guards when I feel they will make my job easier, quicker. Tools are there because they're tools, right? They're there to make our jobs easier. So if one way works easier for you, or you like using guards more than clipper overcomb, please do so. If you enjoy all clipper overcomb work, do that. Whatever makes you happy. Now, Josh, one question. Do you want to keep your sideburns nice and fluffy? Do you want me to taper them in for you?
Taper them.
Taper them in? Okay. Fabulous. I'm just trimming around the ears real quick, debulking. Now, you never, ever, 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 ever block a neckline. No. Not allowed. So all of this is going to be tapered nicely to the skin right now. I'm going to use my clipper comb, again, in a nice light color so that I can see what I'm doing. I use my clippers fully closed. I'm using his sideburn, your cheek, your skin as a guide here. And I'm going to angle my comb down and come in nice and clean and just taper that out a bit. And this is, again, where we can see we left that length there, but now we have this length to work with, right? So now I can blend in and I can taper in the sideburn real nice and clean without compromising the shape we made here. And I'm going to go around the ear. You are there to make your client as beautiful as possible. So move their ear, move their neck, make them go where you want them to go. They're there to listen to you. You're the expert. I'm going to open up my clipper and just stitch out that line a little bit there. Nice and gentle. Close them again. Come around to the ear. Angling my comb down. And just detailing a little bit. Now, I'm going to go on the other side and then finish at the nape. Now, at M's Classic Barbershop, I do like to clean the neck up at the end of the service with my straight edge razor. We are not going to show you guys that today. So we're going to clean him up with a clipper. And then we're going to finish off with a nice spritz of Reuzel Refresh cologne. And then when, unfortunately, I have to say goodbye to you guys at some point, when I say goodbye to you, I'm going to treat Josh to a nice hot towel neck shave. And after that neck shave, then I will throw on some Reuzel Astringent Foam. Either one of those products work beautifully to finish off our Reuzel routine. Whatever works best for you in the shop, and whatever your client prefers. All right, now you can tilt forward for me a little bit, and let's just clean up this neckline. using my comb, following the angle. Again, because we have followed this whole system, this whole haircut, I know that this is my stopping point, the nape, where his head turns in. So I'll never bring the taper above that point, and I can go ahead and take this as short as I want around the neckline, around the nape here, and not compromise the rest of the shape of the haircut. I'm using my middle finger as kind of an anchor point here, so I make sure I have stability. And we're rocking and rolling. Beautiful. So I'm just going to quickly clean up these little nape hairs for him. Again, I do know that I'm going to go back through when we say our goodbyes today and clean this up with a straight edge, but that's only because he's a fancy businessman and needs to be looking good for the camera today. We'll go ahead and clean that up. And then last final little detail is our clipper is fully open. And just knocks this line out. I'm being very gentle with my clipper movements, coming in at a 90-degree angle. Sometimes less is more, especially with tapering longer hair into the neckline. You can also hear it. I know I'm talking, but you listen, you can hear those little hairs coming off. Always combing back into place. And then if we need to, super easy to grab our blenders, our texturizers, our thinning shears. Just soften that up a little bit. And then, my friend, I think we are ready for some product. Woohoo! If anybody has any other suggestions, I'm going to go ahead and grab the grooming cream. I love the grooming cream and the grooming tonic combo, especially for my guys who have more office jobs and then maybe they do want to, take their girlfriend out on a date later. It's very easy to remanipulate into the hair. It's very easy to work with. And they can run their fingers through it throughout the day and not get stuck. It's not too sticky. It's water soluble. So we have our grooming cream. I've used this on you before, haven't I?
Yep.
Yeah. We're going to apply to the palm. About a pea-and-a-half size. Now, I always show this to my client. Always show them because, again, the more that they can utilize these tricks at home, the better they're gonna have a better experience with that haircut. So show them I'm rubbing it into my palms all the way until it looks and feels like I just put my hands on a wet paint wall. Voila. Then I use my fingers like little combs, and I'm gonna come in at the sides or the back. Don't start at the front because then you're gonna get a glop there. It's gonna be very difficult to comb through, to style through. Oh, I just love this stuff. It's so light, but it has that nice control that we're looking for. Again, today's focus was all about movement and flow. I want this to be as natural as possible for him. I want him to be able to wear it high and mighty, and I want him to be able to wear it curly and tighter. I want him to be able to show off his natural growth patterns. So this product works actually quite perfectly with this haircut that we did today. And then, if he wanted to, he could scrunch up some curls and have it be a little bit more of a natural flow. But if you can see, David, if you can just get a profile or a silhouette side profile. We see our ramp, and then come on back here for me. We see the squareness on the sides and back. That's what I'm looking for. So no matter how he wears this style, it's going to look rad. How do you feel?
Great, yeah, that's awesome.
Better?
So good.
All right, I'm going to blow dry all this hair off him and spritz him with some cologne. Nicholas, do we have any questions?
No questions, lots of praise. Everybody agrees that grooming cream was a good choice. We've got a lot of M is the
Love
best.
it.
Hello from Oregon. We've got Steve Sharp checking in from Oregon. A lot of fire
Aw.
emojis. Lots of love.
Aw.
Lots of love.
Lots of love back to you guys. Praise the Lord. Happy 2025. What a great way to start the year. Blow dry their shoes off, guys. It's just a decent thing to do, all right? Okay, so let's finish our Reuzel routine. Sorry, I'm following around my cameraman, who happens to be my husband, with some Reuzel Refresh cologne. I don't know if you noticed either, Josh, but I did spray some of this in here before you walked in.
Got a little bit of it.
Yeah. Ooh, it's a nice little touch. So I believe that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much again for joining us. This was awesome. Thanks for coming to M's Classic Barbershop. I'm sure Nicholas will have something to say about our Denver Academy. But if you do come and see us this year, please send me a message. I would love to meet you guys. I would love to meet you all. I do live very close to the Academy, and it would be an honor to be a part of your Reuzel journey.
Thanks, Emmy. Great haircut. Thanks, David. Thank you,
you.
Model, for hanging out with us today on Monday. Hey, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us on a Monday for Reuzel Live. Just a couple of quick notes before we sign off. Our next Reuzel Denver Academy classes, we've got January 26th and 27th. We have a classics class on the 26th and 27th of January. February 23rd and 24th, we have a modern classics class coming up where we focus on longer lengths and different shapes. And upcoming Facebook Live event, we have February 10th with Julie Petit-Clerc from Quebec, and the presentation will be in French. So again, thanks for hanging out with us today, and we will see you next month if we don't see you at the Academy at the end of January.
Thank you.